Monday, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets. Powered by BetSperts, we are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. Back from a little break, I'm Alex Christensen, and joining me as always, Mr. Andy Molitor, rocking the Slumber Pups hat there. How was it? How was your first Minnesota Timberwolves playoff game? I heard you gave permission to your daughter to tell the refs how she felt about their performance.
Yeah.
I mean, break it down.
Fun. Good atmosphere. I've been to Twins playoff games. Honestly, nothing will ever top a Twins playoff game in the Metrodome because of the noise factor, like a closed roof stadium like that. I mean, you couldn't hear yourself think. That was a lot of fun. But no, really good atmosphere. The crowds were great. And yeah, we're in kind of a rowdy section with a bunch of, like early 20 somethings who were just hammering Trulies. And they were getting pretty mouthy. And like, so when it was the ref, you suck, like our section was quite loud. She's like, and my 10-year-old's like, am I allowed to? Yeah, fuck it. It's the playoffs. Go ahead. Tell the ref. Like, it's not like they're going to hear you. She also asked too when another player was shooting a free throw on the other team, can I yell miss? I'm like, we're in the 200 section. He ain't gonna hear you. Scream your little heart out. Like everyone's making noise. You're not gonna. She's too polite for her own good. I'm like, guess what?
Sweet kid.
Although it was fun because you do get to see when you are actually there. You get to see the protesters right away. You don't have to wait for the clips to come out. We got to see that lady get dragged across the court and up the tunnel as she was protesting chicken farm practices. Again, I don't know. I don't follow the whole story, but I do know that sometimes you have to cull a flock, and such is life in chicken farming. Although we won't. This is not a chicken farming show. This is a sports betting
No need
show.
for us to try and unpack those issues.
But yeah, Wolves in 6. That was the chant that the arena was ringing out afterwards. A lot of fun. Although man, it was like 1 a.m. before I got out of downtown Minneapolis. So we showed up. We showed up for her volleyball tournament. She announces that to the coach. I'm like, that's not how you get playing time, by telling her you're up till 2 a.m. A lot of lessons to be learned from that one.
They're spry.
Except
They're fine.
gonna take it a little easier tomorrow. Tomorrow's game, we're just gonna go down to the bar. Just there's a local bar. I'm just gonna go hit that, watch the game, have some wings, have a beer, play some pull tabs, and enjoy those games. Although, which ones do we have tonight? I know.
Let's see. Tonight, Philadelphia, Toronto, Dallas, Utah, and Boston, Brooklyn.
One big favorite, two small favorites, and then the series prices are none of them are real fun on the east side. Sixers are up
Yeah,
by a bunch. Yeah, they can close it out tonight as 8-point favorites, minus 7,000. Didn't really get to see the Raptors bite back. The Bucks didn't sweep. They got the gentleman's sweep on deck, though. That's another one where tomorrow they can cash that. The Celtics just ripping through the Nets is something. And then I guess the Heat's Hawks thing, that was to be expected. Maybe gentleman's sweep there too, but all big, big numbers in the East.
it's tough, and I think that's what we've learned a little bit this playoffs. It's tough for teams to lose a star mid-game. There's so much planning and orchestration that goes into this stuff. Where losing Kyle Lowry like that during the middle of the game is really an advantage for the Hawks, and something to pay attention for with some of these live lines. Again, it's really hard to evaluate the impact of a player in general, but to do it during the middle of a game, there's definitely some edges out there to be had. I mean, well, the Sixers won game one for us, Andy, but it doesn't look like the Raptors are going to get it done. I didn't plan for Scotty Barnes to get hurt, Gary Trent Jr. to get hurt and all this, but it seems like the Sixers will put things to bed. The Bulls snookered the Bucks, so we'll lose our sweet bet, but our minus 2.5 games is looking okay. Yeah. Nets Celtics, I mean, wow. The Celtics have been spectacular, and the Nets, again, it's a lot of talent, and it's hard now to figure out if it's Nash's inability to put it together or maybe just not everybody being there at the right time. And it looks like we're not going to get any Ben Simmons, so none of those kind of fantasy video game stuff. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Nets Celtics game in a few minutes, but that'll be interesting. And then Miami, Atlanta, yeah, Miami's in really good shape. And all of a sudden we have a really kind of intriguing, which should be Miami-Philadelphia series in the next round. And we look at the West here, the series back at 2-2 for Minnesota. So the Grizzlies here back to, I think, right around what the price opener was. I don't mind it. I think what we've seen this series is these games are really going to be up and down and back and forth games. There's just so much scoring overall. It's hard to tell what's going on. Now, curious to see what happens from a reffing perspective, giving Mr. Jenkins comments the other day. He wasn't wrong.
Did you watch the game?
See. I didn't. I went back and looked at kind of the play-by-play, and he everything he said was pretty accurate. Now, I didn't go back and watch the game and see how many of those were fouls, but it's a little odd that you'd have so many Grizzlies players like that picking up so many fouls so quickly in what has generally been a loosely called series. I mean, in the playoffs,
Yeah.
it's generally hard to pick up some ticky-tack stuff, and that's where you kind of raise your eyebrows.
I thought it was just an incredibly inconsistent and poorly refereed games for both sides. I didn't really keep track of the foul. I mean, it seemed like the foul trouble was warranted early. Like a lot of it was a little ticky tack, but again, the hands were laid and there were some fouls called. And then anytime they went to the monitor, it seemed to go Memphis's way. So like they got every review to go their way, but at the same and of course there was a couple of off the ball, whatever you want to call it, away from the ball fouls. Those are bad. I forgot how bad those are. Like that's practically a flagrant. So I mean, Memphis had all that other stuff go their way, but they got called for everything early. I just felt it was a really shittily, refereed game for both sides. Like you had no idea when a guy went into the lane if he was going to get mugged and if he was going to get called for anything or not on both ends of the court. It was really, really a rough job by those refs. Like he was right. They did a weird job of that game.
You make a good point. It could just be patterns of inconsistency that we're putting too much stock into, but it's been a mess. We'll see how it goes. That series will be up and down. We'll talk about Jazz Mavericks a little bit. I actually like something in tonight's game there. Suns Pelicans. The Pelicans
Yeah.
looking pretty tough here. I mean, I didn't think that Devin Booker's injury would be this much of a problem for the Suns, but something's off, and we'll see what Monty Williams, who should be winning Coach of the Year at some point this week. I imagine they'll announce that, if can figure something out here. I'm surprised the Pelicans are so live. And then our Denver Nuggets have just got clobbered. They got the nice win the other night, but it's just been a tough series. Jokic is outmatched, and that Steph Curry fellow seems to be pretty healthy. So tough sled in there. But again, it seems like things are kind of shaking out. I'm glad that some of these series are tighter. I think a week ago we thought there was going to be a lot of blowouts. So we got a lot of 2-2s up there. So, and the Sixers get some rest. So selfishly, love that.
Yeah, it'll be nice when the Nuggets, excuse me, the Warriors get a little taste of their own medicine, as next week they'll go up against a better 3-point shooting team, irregardless. Like obviously Bane was crushing it. Like every time they weren't putting a body on that guy, he was just absolutely draining threes. And Minnesota made enough 3-pointers to get the free Arby's sandwich for the night. I didn't actually cash in on that yet, but when the Wolves make 12, when you have the Wolves app, you get your free Arby's. So my
I
daughter was
love
pumped. I'm
that.
like we're not going to Arby's at 1 in the morning, you guys. What are
We
we
get
doing
free
here?
Frosties if someone misses 2 free throws.
I like that too. Frosties are honestly better. So, all right, you had something you said the Dallas series tonight then.
Yeah, 3 games tonight. We'll touch quickly on Boston, Brooklyn. A very salient point in the chat there. Hoff mentions that Scott Foster, Scott the Extender Foster, if you will, the star of the NBA playoffs. Remember, folks, it's the NBA playoffs on TNT featuring Scott Foster. Will be out tonight, I think, trying to not necessarily help Brooklyn along, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brooklyn finally gets a win here. Paul, that's a mean question. I won't respond to it because you didn't use Mr. Rivers' correct name, but that's mean, and I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate it. I don't like it. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. But Boston Celtics, Nets, good spot for the Nets. I just they should win one of these games finally. They've been shooting the ball so well. Raptors, Sixers, I think things are over here for the Raptors. We'll see what Nick Nurse can put together. But the Mavericks and the Jazz, I really like this spot for the Mavericks. Luka Doncic is back, got to play the last game, which gives them a little bit of a transition time. I think he's going to feel a lot more comfortable tonight. That game was pretty close, and Utah was able to pull it out on the last-second basket. But you go back and look, a lot of positivity for the Mavericks there. They'll be back at home again as 3-point favorites. I'm projecting Luka at this point around like 75, maybe 80% of his total capacity, if you will. And at that point, I'm looking at the Mavericks closer to like a 5-point favorite here. I think that they're pretty comfortable in this series moving forward. Again, with Luka back, he is only going to get better. And Utah continues to be the postseason Jazz that that we've seen over the past years. For whatever reason, this style of play, they just don't have a fifth gear. They don't have some sort of next step or new wrinkle to unveil in the playoffs. And as good as Rudy Gobert has been, I mean, this is some of the best basketball we've seen him play in the postseason. It's just not enough to get Utah over the hump. So giving the Mavericks here -3, again, in a spot where I have them closer to -5. Luka's going to continue to play better. And just getting a little bit of discount here. So giving the Mavericks.
And I'm just hearing word that Tatum has already been assessed a technical, as the Nets game is hours away from happening. That'll be exciting. I love Twitter when they have this conspiracy theory about a ref, and then because it's stupid. In most sports, they'll do this and then nothing comes of it. But in the NBA, with like the brothers Foster, some of those guys, they'll talk about it for 2 days and then it still will happen. And that's the most fun. That's almost the most fun you can have in the NBA is when one of these refs actually does the full on. Guess what? Game 5 is happening, fellas. So I'm not betting money on it, but I'd be very excited if we can get some of that shit.
It's a good reason not to bet the Celtics. It's not a good reason to bet the Nets. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's a good reason to just lay off, watch the game, enjoy the shit, enjoy the
Have a
shit
good laugh
show.
about it.
Speaking of the shit show, golf is in week 2 of a horrible stretch as we are heading south of the border to the Mexico Open at Vedanta. This was an incredibly difficult course to even find information on to start with. I don't think I can find it on Nintendo. I couldn't figure out which course they're even playing at this resort to start out with. It's a pain in the ass all around. There's not a lot of stats about it. Ron did a great job digging up what he could. He put out some feelers. He emailed the superintendent. He emailed a couple of caddies and golfers that he contacts to get information on this course at all. So this is Ron Dan's making redacted jokes. That's pretty funny. And then also Jon Rahm is like 4-1 at some places. So it's Jon Rahm plus the field. If you don't think Jon Rahm's going to go down here and give a shit at all, you can probably some good value on some of these other golfers. Like, Danny Berger in this field at 16-1 doesn't feel bad. I bet you get bigger numbers than that too. Aaron Wise, kind of an also ran at big numbers. He's Ryan Noonan's big guy, 34-1. Cameron Tringali being this price is pretty funny. But I know some people that are piling on Munoz here. I'm not sure about Patrick Reed, but Woodland Munoz, kind of some of the early looks I have. Once I get some outrights, I will see if we can get something together. I had a bridesmaid last week as one of my outrights was second. What are you going to do when the other team shoots a 59 and a 60 in the best ball? It's tough sledding to get another team there. So one of the favorites does that. I guess I just have to doff my cap to them and say, such is life. I had a couple matchups go my way, and I took it pretty easy in general. So not too bad. Hopefully we just make all that money back in the draft as Mr. Walker, Georgia, is now your favorite to go number 1. This is fun because we did a little betting on him. There was some plus 350s out there last week. And as Drew and I were talking about, we were pretty nervous because we might have hit the shit out of that and it didn't move an inch. So finally, those markets are starting to move late, a bit of a delayed reaction. I don't know if it's informational or enough volume is moving it everywhere. So we have a new favorite 3.5 days out. I'm very excited. This is a great week because we're closing out some series. We're just going to start looking at round 2 series. We got the draft. I don't even care if it's a shitty golf tournament. This is a very, very fun week. The Twins swept the White Sox. That's hilarious.
Should have bet on today.
I should have put I wore my Twins hat to the game. I didn't realize I didn't have any Timberwolves gear at all. So I'm like, I'll just buy a hat when I get there and make my daughter put the Twins hat in her backpack. So then she had to get a hat too. Jesus Christ. I think I had a pretzel, a hot dog, a beer, and she got a drink, like 40 bones. And then you go to the gift shop and it's another 50. Like, yeah, it's not horrible, but it's like it's crazy how much you spend after you get to the stadium. I'll never not complain about that. I didn't even know where Alex went. The people who run the stadiums are mad at him. They kicked him right out, and it's a maybe a good week for it. He doesn't have any tennis. There he is. He's back. I have no idea what happened. Where'd you go? All right.
Fresh something. It's all very odd, but hey. Glad you
I
had
was
fun
gonna,
at the game. Glad you
I
got a
was,
hat.
I was gonna say if you were gonna leave, I was just gonna skip tennis because you don't have any bets. We're just gonna talk a little bit. When does Wimbledon start? June, late
Yeah,
June.
Wimbledon is, let me just double check. I mean, the next one up is the French Open. That will be towards the end of May. And then Wimbledon is
End of June, I
the
thought.
end of June. End of June, first week of July. That's right. Wimbledon. We watch Wimbledon on July 4th sometimes.
That's true.
But it's no tennis. The next tournament for the women actually starts midweek. It's a W1000 in Madrid. Should be a great tournament. We'll have some outrights and stuff, I'm sure, in the coming days, assuming they plan a draw. It's tennis. Anything's possible. I might not even know who's playing until minutes before it starts. It's part of the fun that is. But no tennis here midweek. But did want to mention on some news that came out. And I know Andy, as a big tennis bettor, I'm sure this was shocking to you. It doesn't appear that any Russians will be playing at Wimbledon. I'm not, again, 1,000,000% sure how they're going to determine that. I assume whatever country of affiliation you have. I wonder if anybody has put in a change of country of affiliation like that. But on the men's side, I mean, this is huge news. It means Daniel Medvedev and Andrei Rublev, two of the top 10 players, aren't going to be there. Khachanov, Karatsev, again, two guys in the mid-20s, low 30s ranking-wise, aren't going to be there. Some young players, like Roman Safulin might have been fun in qualifying. On the women's side, not too many huge names, but somebody like Ludmila Samsonova,
Well,
Katerina
they're going to keep
Alexandrova, Pavlyuchenkova,
Belarusians out as well.
Kasatkina, Kudermetova. It's going to be
Um,
tough.
Anya, they're keeping Belarusians out as well.
And Belarusians. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
that's an update for you.
yeah, they're
So that's
lumping them in. So no Sabalenka is probably that ends up probably being your biggest name on that side.
no Sabalenka, no Azarenka either.
Yeah, Azarenka's no spring chicken, but she's still playing.
And it's
I don't know
grass.
if
I mean,
anyone
the older
broke the
players have an
news.
advantage.
Yeah, I don't know who broke the news to little Leo, but yeah, no Azarenka as well.
It's a very odd situation. Again, in general, supportive of tennis trying things like this, and we've seen tennis do stuff like this. They pulled all the tournaments out of China when there was all that stuff going on with Peng Shuai. They've been supportive of people coming out necessarily with domestic abuse allegations and things like that.
Yeah.
So tennis is kind of progressive in this way. I don't know if it necessarily makes sense. I don't know necessarily what Daniel Medvedev and Andrei Rublev and Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova have to do with Putin's war in Ukraine, but it's just sucks. It's just a shame that we're not going to have some of our best players, and there'll be yet another asterisk Grand Slam, if you will.
Yeah, dumb. I hate it. Maybe maybe Putin. Maybe honestly, if Putin doesn't survive to Wimbledon, maybe we flip this around. Did you see that video of him? He looks bad. Like he looks sick. And I made the joke earlier. We were talking about somebody where he said I didn't even know he was sick. Like Putin looks rough right now. So maybe we can just knock the war out here and we can get our tennis players on. It does suck for Medvedev. Medvedev is at the peak of his career. Like this is his
He's
year.
got a shot to win this thing.
Yeah, these are the years he's supposed to be winning. And yeah, Rick Daddy 69-420 did give us Fiala to score a goal. Fiala made the score sheet 5 times with apples. Thanks for the assists. Yeah,
No
right
oranges.
church, wrong pew. That's pretty funny. So, yeah, what are you gonna do? Hockey's a tough sport. You tried your best, Rick Daddy, and we appreciate you. We appreciate everyone in the chat. Hit a thumbs up on the way out. We'll catch you tomorrow for some more betting, some more gambling. Me and Alex, producer Dan, we'll see you tomorrow.